Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the live chat session for the Marine Science program and also a live tour of our Marine Field Station. My name is Adrienne Sicknick. I work in the Dean's Office for the School of Natural Sciences and Mathematics at Stockton University. I'm just here to act as a moderator to introduce you, or welcome you, I should say, and introduce our faculty and staff. And I will also be showing you the agenda and how to use some of the tools in Zoom in case you're unfamiliar with them. So let me go back to our screen share. Okay, so if you're new to Zoom, there's only 3 tools you need to worry about: the audio, video, and chat features. It's going to look a little different on your mobile device than your desktop. So on the bottom of your screen on the left, you're going to see an audio button with the strike through. It means you're on the mute function. You can unmute yourself during questions and answers to ask a question. The start video, if you want to share your video screen with us, we'd love to see you. But if you're an introvert, we understand. You don't have to share your video. So that will also be with the strike through to not share video. If you'd like to chat with us, you can also do that via text. On your mobile device, it will say participants with a little chat bubble above it. Or on your desktop or laptop, it will have the chat feature, and you can type in questions while the professors are talking. So today's agenda is going to start. The first hour is going to be a discussion with Dr. Elizabeth Lacey, or Dr. Z, as we love to call her. She's going to talk to you about what it takes to become a marine science and your possible future careers available to you. That after her discussion, you're going to have some Q&As. Around 3 o'clock, we're going to take a 15-minute break. And at 3:15, we're going to go over to the field station live with our field station manager, Steve Everett, who's going to talk to us about the Marine Field Station, what it has to offer and how it supports our programs, and also do a walking tour of the field station. You'll also have the opportunities to speak with a couple of our oceanography students as well. After that session, we have one of our directors from admissions, Allison Henry, who's going to be joining us as well, and she can answer any general or admissions questions for you. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Elizabeth Lacey, and she'll start the discussions with you.
Great, thank you so much, Adrienne. Can everyone hear me okay, hopefully? So I'm here at the field station, actually, in a log cabin. You'll be very familiar with the log cabin during your time here as a marine science student. This is the main facility when you have a lab, the classroom portion, or anytime we're coming back and using the actual lab space. You'll be right here, surrounded by some of the offices that faculty work on. My research lab space is kind of back down that hallway. And then a space next to me, we've got microscopes and computers. So definitely stick around for the 3 o'clock tour. You'll see me again in the background as Steve walks through, and I'll still be available for questions. So thank you for your interest in the program. No matter where you are in the process, whether you're still considering which of the institutions you would want to attend, if you've already decided, if you have questions about a marine science career and you're just starting to figure things out, hopefully I can answer some of those questions for you. Just to get you used to maybe using this chat feature. So if you do want to go down to the bottom and select the chat bubble that Adrienne showed you, you can send in the chat to everyone. Just tell me what city and state that you're zooming in from. I'd like to hear where you guys are at. So I'm in Port Republic, New Jersey. So you can see that chat box down there. So go ahead and type in wherever you're at. You can share that with everybody. Normally when we have these in person, it's always interesting to see how far people are coming from. So in this case, you could be coming from anywhere, most likely a lot of New Jersey students. Anyone else? So in general, the Stockton students, I'm going to share my screen here. The questions people typically have are, what are some of the careers that you can start with marine science? So we're going to be spending a little bit of time talking about that. A short video that I have. Oh, we've got a Pennsauken, New Jersey. Hi, Jackie. Freehold. And we've got Essex Fells. Nice. Nice. We're all over the state so far. So we'll be talking a bit about that. I'll show a short video that emphasizes our program, our offerings here, and then some future directions for those that are still in high school. Cranford, New Jersey, we've got a Colorado Springs. Keith, you might be our winner with our farthest distance right now. Colorado Springs, Egg Harbor Township, Greenwich, Mays Landing, Island Heights. How's that beach over there, Nate? Barnegat, oh, Philadelphia, nice. Cherry Hill, Marlton, Turnersville. Yeah, really all over the place. So hopefully you're at least familiar with the chat function now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and just do it, like I said, just a couple of different slides. I've got a Deerfield, Pottstown, nice, Merchantsville, lots of New Jersey represented here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, which will give you a peek into, just like I said, a couple slides, not many. This first one is just kind of looking at marine biology, oceanography. That's one of the questions I typically get, where students have a general idea of what they want to study, but they're not 100% sure where they fall. Your degree here at Stockton would be in marine science. So you'd have either a Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts degree. Majority of our students are in the Bachelor of Science degree category. That's particularly useful if you're planning to stay in academia, say you know you want to do graduate school, if you want to teach. We do have a concentration with education as well, that's the BA. So first, that concentration decision after you've decided BS versus BA is the next part. So here you see two different options with marine biology. So these tend to be people interested in fisheries, aquaculture, habitat management, being an aquarist in an aquarium, public outreach. I myself am in the marine biology category. So I did my undergraduate at University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and then my master's and PhD were down in Florida. Always kind of studying coral reefs, coral reef ecology, and kind of have transferred that here because obviously no coral reefs in New Jersey. Looking at nearshore communities. So submerged aquatic vegetation, so marine plants are what I study, and so I fall within that marine biology category. But what's really fascinating is that there's a biological component to oceanography that a lot of people maybe aren't interested in. So you see physical oceanography, geological oceanography, chemical, that biological that I mentioned, and hydrography. So what that looks like for me is that I partner with a lot of these oceanographers to see how are currents moving. So if I'm looking at the seed of the eelgrass might be moving through a community, and I want to know where is that going to help me predict where we might have expansion of the seagrass beds, which are really important habitat for fish and invertebrates. I might also look at where sediment is going and how that might deliver nutrients and pulses of nutrients. So larval dispersal for fish, things like that. So they're really heavily integrated with one another. And it's an important understanding to kind of figure out where your interests lie. On the marine biology side, typically we say animals, habitat management. So working with Fish and Wildlife, Department of Environmental Protection, things like that. Conservation is another big thing. I actually teach a course called Marine Conservation Ecology that I really love doing, where it's case studies about how we apply what we're learning in the marine science degree within a conservation framework. Aquaculture is also another big thing in this environment. We've got a lot of mariculture, local communities doing oyster and clam aquaculture. Taxonomy, so figuring out who's who and what's what. So taxonomy is kind of about the naming and identification of organisms, and then ecology, which is looking at organisms and their environment. And then on the oceanography side, things like beaches and waves, currents. So any of those factors post-Sandy, particularly in our environment, we really want to have a good understanding for how are the currents impacting our shoreline, and how does that impact quality of life, houses that are built and things like that. Ocean energy is also a big thing with the windmills that are currently getting put into some of our nearshore environments, those wind turbines. And understanding their impact on the environment and what we can do to kind of mitigate or reduce those impacts. Archaeology, physics, mathematics. So during the second part of the presentation today, we'll have two oceanography students, so you'll be able to ask them some questions if you have them related to that degree. So that's kind of the rundown for what the difference is between the two, marine biology and oceanography. So let me get back to my screen. What I'd like to do in the chat box there is if you're already have an idea of what you're thinking career-wise. If you're going to type in marine biology, if that's the concentration you're thinking of, type in oceanography, if that's the concentration you're thinking of. If you're interested in the Professional Science Master's Degree program, you can just put the PSM degree or the Coastal Zone Management degree, or if you're undecided, just helps us get an idea. So we've already got some oceanography chiming in, I see on the chat. We'll see if we can get a little bit of a tally. I've got marine biology, yay, oceanography. I agree, Caitlin, yay for oceanography. That is actually a really growing field. I encourage a lot of students to explore that, especially if you kind of like the animal side of things, but aren't quite sure if, or you're daunted by the mathematics portion. There's a lot more positions becoming available within the oceanography and the biological oceanography. So if you have any kind of hint that that might be your interest, definitely do that. Let's see, oceanography, PSM, marine bio, animal husbandry training, yep. Oh, and you love chemistry, yeah. I minored in chemistry, Michael, so I think Finn is your nickname. I minored in chemistry when I got my degree because I really loved just that, the predictable nature sometimes of getting a chemical signature back and trying to figure out, okay, you know, where did that come from? Use that quite frequently within the sciences. All the animals we like to study are in a watery world, so chemistry is definitely important. Let's see, Justin's thinking maybe marine biology was, after your rundown, now I'm undecided. I don't mean to confuse you, Justin. Oceanography sounds awesome too. I agree, oceanography, great. It's, like I said, one would think I'm partial to marine biology since that's my background, but I find myself more and more collaborating with oceanographers, and what we do relies on both of us at the table to have a conversation about how our animals are being impacted. So very cool. So yes, that's the rundown for marine science in general. So if you're looking at other degree programs as well, if you see that they're offering a marine biology degree or a marine science degree for oceanography. Oh, thanks, Adrian. So 10 marine biology, 7 oceanography, and 1 PSM. Good rundown. So nice mix. We have faculty members that are focused in either one. So if you have the interest to do a research project that's oceanography based, what's really, I think, kind of fascinating is that one of my projects that I have for this summer, I'm collaborating with 2 other women in the marine science program that are oceanographers. And so we're looking at the impact of oyster aquaculture on SAV, the submerged aquatic vegetation, which is my part of things, but then also the impact that the sediment has as it's entering into these environments where there's aquaculture gear and how currents are changing. And so it's a project that never really happened without all of us kind of coming to the table. So that's been really exciting. So next part, as I said, get back to share my screen here, is looking at, you know, what comes next once you kind of have these ideas and why would you want to pursue them? And so the general question that comes up from these is that you kind of want to have an impact in the environment. You want to do something that makes you feel like that passion you have for the ocean and that reason why you were kind of called to doing marine science has a payout, if you will. And so how does that actually result in any type of career? And so these are the 4 main points that are really emphasized when it comes to the marine science degree, is that you have an opportunity to protect and restore these natural resources. It's definitely an important component as we see larger scale degradation and declines in the habitats. Protect and create jobs. So tourism and the fishery industry is a really important component. And if we can do something as scientists to help support that and protect those jobs and the industry and the organisms, the plants and animals that are relied on, would be important. Protecting life and property, like I said, this is a really big growing area of interest. The ocean energy, the coastal zone management master's degree program is a new one that we're starting here. There's a lot of interest in how can we protect our shores. If you've gone to any of the shores and seen erosion, or you've gone and seen a jetty and how there's a really decrease in the amount of sand at the beach next to the jetty, that's what we're talking about. And really trying to minimize our impact on the environment. We know we've had an impact, and let's try and reduce that negative impact. So that being said, I'm going to switch to showing this video here. If this comes up, made with one of our graduates.
From the first day of labs here at Stockton, I was out on the marsh identifying plants, keying out fish, measuring water currents, and just learning new techniques. I always knew I wanted a career as a marine scientist, but the program here at Stockton University actually allowed me to be a marine scientist.
The Stockton University Marine Field Station is pretty unique. We're on an 8-acre waterfront site right next to the Jacques Cousteau National Estuarine Research Reserve. Pretty amazing location so the students can get right out on the water. The other great thing is that we are dedicated to the undergrads. So we can have more contact hours with the students because it's dedicated to their hands-on field experience. The students get the opportunity to really work with the equipment that they hopefully will engage with during their careers and during their graduate school.
One of the things that was interesting to me at Stockton was you could take a marine science course in the first year as a freshman. Most all of the other colleges I was looking at required at least 2 years of general science before you would be able to obtain your first marine science class.
Classroom instruction at Stockton is very important. We like our lab work, we like our field work, but working in the classroom is important. We're using modern techniques. We've got lots of modern high-tech equipment, both at the field station and here on the main campus. One of the important things for us is that we keep the classes small, and what that does is it maximizes the amount of interaction between the faculty and the students.
You know, I, as a professor, if I want field help, I go to the undergraduates. The undergraduate students don't have to compete with graduate students for research time and for resources or for the professor's attention. So students are able to get more research experience as an undergraduate than they otherwise would.
There were so many opportunities for me to get involved with research. So my two mentors, Gordon Gregoric and Mike Hozick, were always encouraging me to get involved with things, go to meetings, and so I just felt like it was a very good atmosphere for a student to be in, for growth and everything like that. I just got so much out of it.
In addition to my experiences and courses in labs once I transferred to Stockton, I was also offered positions only available to Stockton students, such as an internship at the Atlantic City Aquarium, and take field courses such as tropical marine biology, which includes site visits to coral reefs and mangrove forests, a completely unique experience not found in New Jersey.
Students can have opportunities to work out in the community on projects like collecting lost crab pots with local fishermen, restoring oyster beds or seagrass meadows with nonprofit organizations, or working with the state on restoring salt marshes around the bay.
The university has been investing in this program consistently throughout my 20 years here, and through internal and external funding, we have really acquired some significant resources. We most recently built a 36-foot coastal research vessel dedicated towards undergraduate teaching and undergraduate education, and even better preparing our students for graduate school, especially in areas like oceanography and physical sciences, than we could even just a few years ago.
I know my professors. They care and want me to succeed. From helping me plan my courses as an academic advisor to providing me with letters of recommendation for scholarships in graduate schools. I can tell my connections with my Stockton professors are going to go way beyond graduation. Hope to see you on campus.
So I think there might have been a little bit of a delay. Sorry for that. I'll show you where you can access the video as well to get, if you want to watch it again, which I never get old. I like hearing about our field station. You'll get to see a lot of those spaces today. Steve, who you saw in the video as well, will give you a tour and you'll see it even in live version there. So that's the idea behind what we're doing at the field station, is just providing that opportunity for students so that you get out in the field from the very beginning. A lot of students wonder, how many times do we get out to the field station and how do we get out there? How long do we spend each time we go? And for Intro to Marine Bio, if you declare within the major of marine science as soon as you start at Stockton, then you're out in the field from the very first weeks that you're here on campus. So have no fear, we'll get you wet and dirty so that you can determine whether or not you actually want to do this degree, or if it's a little bit too wet and dirty and you switch out. So you do get that experience at the field station, which I think is really unique. And that's kind of what I want to talk about next. Is so why do you pick Stockton, or what are some of the hallmarks of the program that I think are really valuable? Besides this ability to get right out on the water, we're about 15 minutes from main campus. So it's a short little commute for you to drive out here. And I definitely encourage you, once restrictions are lifted and you're able to come for a visit, to come see firsthand. Hopefully you'll see enough during the tour later on with Steve to give you a true taste of it. The other thing that I think is really unique and important is that it's a facility that's dedicated really to these undergraduates. So those are the courses that we primarily teach. They're not taught by graduate students. They're not really large classes either. Most of the classes for the marine science program are about 28 students. So as you're looking at other institutions, make sure that's part of the dialogue that you have. I know all of my students fairly well, names, first and last names for sure. So I can pick on them when they're not in class and say, where are you? Do you sleep in? But also helps me feel a bit connected. I also advise them. So precepting is the Stockton word when it comes to academic advising. And so I help students pick their classes, design the courses that they're going to take for the career that they hope to have. And I'm able to really help the students by getting to know them so well with the smaller class sizes. Other things that are unique with the faculty-led research programs. So I do research every summer, this summer a little bit different, obviously, and incorporate a lot of students into that research. So doing independent studies, I teach a study abroad course as well. So there's lots of opportunities for you to do things outside the classroom. With a marine science degree, it's really important that you're doing those things outside the classroom, not just going to class and getting straight A's, but also pursuing the research opportunities that will let you know where your career path should go. So then I just have a couple more slides I want to show you emphasizing these things. So like I said, the first thing is what's unique to Stockton are those small class sizes. When you're a declared MARS student, you're on the boat that first semester. And to declare in MARS, it really is dependent on your scores. And so we are test optional, so you would either be submitting SAT or ACT scores or taking the test. It's like an AccuPlacer. And those scores would enable you to declare within NAMS, the School of Natural Sciences and Mathematics, and then within the Marine Science program. And that undergraduate dedicated faculty and staff. So we have a student there holding a squid that we found during one of our trawls. And so we're able to take the students out there a lot more frequently. We have access to a lot of the technology, and Steve will be showing some of that today. And that I'm teaching these courses in labs, which I think is one of my favorite reasons for having this job, is that I get to do that. Other unique aspects, so we've got this education concentration. If you're at all interested in pursuing that, so if you want to teach middle school, high school, elementary, we do have a unique track just for that. So you would graduate and you would be certified to teach. There's also some unique courses. What I like is the service learning component. So we're actually doing, part of the reason why you're passionate about marine science is that you want to share it with others. We go into the local school districts. Underwater robotics is an example of that. So you're building these robots with middle schoolers, and they get to test them, which is really fun. And then the photo on the lower right is the last tropical marine biology trip. So once again, there are no coral reefs in New Jersey. There are no mangroves or no Everglades. And so we take a trip down to Florida, and I get to expose the students to what I kind of consider my second home, since that's where I did my master's, my PhD. And then there's semester abroad options. I've had quite a few students do like a semester in Australia, which is something very easily to accomplish. We've got a study abroad office. So if those types of experiences interest you, it's definitely possible here at Stockton. So keep that in mind. And then the last is the student club and chapters. So we've got professional scientific organizations that you can be involved in. This is another good way for you to network and share ideas with other students that have a similar interest as you do. So then the last thing I want to touch on is just say, okay, what do you do now? So say you're not quite ready to apply, or you're applying and you're still finishing your high school year. I stole these photos from our Atlantic City graduation from last year. I really love them. But I don't know if you can read the one on the left. Everyone likes to decorate their hats. And this says, already forgot everything. And there's some Finding Nemo decals there. So don't forget everything. Do well in math and science. Those advanced courses, if you can, are really important. That helps set the foundation for what you're doing in a marine science, any science degree really. The other thing is to volunteer. So gain some related experience going to science camps and festivals. You can do a lot of online different types of courses, like Khan Academy as an example. Gives you an idea of what flavor of marine science you might be interested in. And then once we're able to travel again, it's definitely to come to an open house event at Stockton. And you can virtually kind of experience some of the research going on in the lab, at least my lab in particular. You'll see the Instagram logo there on the right at Stockton_Merle, M-E-R-L. So that's my research lab, which is the Marine Ecosystem Research Lab. So now back to me on the screen here. So with that, I think those are kind of the introductory ideas behind marine science, and I'm happy to take questions. Let me see if we've got some here. Let's see, Finn, I have a quick question. If I were to commute to the campus, would that limit my access to the MARS program? Not at all. We've got a lot of students that end up commuting, and a smaller residential population. A lot of times once students kind of pass through their sophomore year, they're eager to move on campus, off campus with friends, but there's quite a few commuters. In other words, is it going to be something that non-commuters use more than others? No, the field station is accessible to everybody, so it wouldn't really restrict you. I would say you can plan your course schedule around. A lot of students, when they transfer in, you know, they're trying to decide, I only want to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday because I know I have to commute in. Your first year might be difficult to kind of get the ideal schedule where you only would come down, say, 3 days a week. I don't know how far, I can't remember where you were from Finn, but it might be difficult that first semester to kind of have that pick where you can just come 3 days a week. And so I would encourage you to kind of build in time to come out to the field station and work with a research professor or things like that. But there's definitely no restrictions on whether or not you're commuting in or not. Let's see, Keith says, currently active duty military and you get out in 2 months. Thank you for your service, sir. I was wondering how I have to test to get in the first semester program. Testing as far as if you're talking mathematics, so the AccuPlacer exam, it's all online, so.
Hi, it's Allison from admissions. If you, Elizabeth, if you type online placement testing in the Stockton search box, you'll see the link to the online placement testing page.
Yeah, so thank you. I clicked on it through the NAMS website. I'm more familiar with the NAMS webpage. So placement testing here. So Keith, you would go to this, or as Allison was saying, you can type in, and here's information on the placement test. It also lets you know about it being online now. So just because you're located in Colorado, it makes no difference. You could be taking the placement testing that way. Does that answer your question, Keith? Or were you able to see? Awesome. And then confusion about the campus. Oh, so the field station is completely separate. So it's located in Port Republic. The main campus is in Galloway, and then there is the campus in Atlantic City, and then Manahawkin and Hamilton both have campuses. The residential ones, if you're going to stay on campus, would be Atlantic City or Galloway. All the marine science courses, we had a faculty member that taught out at the Atlantic City campus, so a general studies course, so it wasn't within the degree program. So if you're considering distance to commute in, you would be looking at the Galloway campus. And then, like I said, the field station, we're about 15 minutes from that. And then I was trying to figure out, should I visit one or both? Visit as much as you can to get a real flavor for the campus. The Atlantic City campus, that's where I stole the photos from graduation because they're at the beach. It's a beautiful facility. They do teach classes out there. And then it's not, I mean, you can almost do a loop between all of them. So if you're going to make the trip to come visit, you know, make the whole trip and see all the facilities we have to offer. There's a really nice conference space. We host an event in the fall called Coast Day, Atlantic City Coast Day, where it's an opportunity for us to kind of share with the community about some of our research projects within the coastal environment. Let's see, I already have a bachelor's degree in liberal studies. How easy is it to transfer credits? Do you recommend the master's program? And what would be a good route for you to take? So yes, fairly easy to transfer in credits. So let me go back to, so what I want to take you to is the marine science webpage, because I have a little tutorial that we put up there that goes through a breakdown on how anybody can see, you know, what courses would I want to take and how much we actually transfer in. So let me take you there now. So here's that webpage, the marine science webpage. And like I was saying before, if the video was, sorry if it was a little bit of a lag, It's available down here. And like I said, Dom is a graduate. Gosh, how long have I been here? He graduated, I think, 4 years ago, and is now working in a state position with the state, doing fish surveys. So he was very involved in a fraternity as well. So this is the marine science webpage. So I'm just going to kind of show you maybe some of the resources that are available there. The brochure is down here that has some information, but mainly what you're asking is if you go down to this additional information, advising and prospective students, when you click on this, it gives you the same information that I somewhat talked about, you know, BA versus BS. We talk about the concentration and what does it mean. If you're interested in this point at the education, you can do that. And then here's the curriculum information. So within the curriculum information, you can access the TREC program. So you would click on TREC here, and this is where each person's decisions are going to be somewhat unique. You can continue without signing in. And what you'll do is if you're planning to enroll in fall of 2020, and then you can play around with your intended level. So if you wanted to do your undergraduate degree and see what transfers in for that, in this case, we'll say that you're going to do a bachelor's of science, and then you'll pick what your intended major is, which is marine science. Hopefully you're convinced that that's what you want to do. If not, other students pursue sustainability as another program. You can also minor in sustainability. Quite a few students minor in chemistry, in biology, and environmental studies. And so then we could do our concentration in oceanography. And so this is the part, the next step here is where you would see what courses might be able to transfer in. And this, once again, would be dependent on, you know, your previous information. And so you could certainly start to transfer in different classes. Here you can search through any institution that you're interested in transferring credits in from, and see how that goes. So does that help? Was there an updated question? Oops. Jackie, I think it was Jackie, right? Jackie, is that helpful? Answer transferring credits. So you were asking more about the master's program. So we have the professional science master's degree program and the coastal zone management are the two master's options. And so you could certainly see what would transfer in using that same tracks that I just did. So anyone, bachelor's or master's, you can certainly do it either of those ways. A good route for you to take, I think either one of the programs. I like to start with asking, you know, what's the career goal? That really helps me make better assessments on your individual path, and I'm happy to do that. We can do that via email or do a separate Zoom. You know, we can certainly hash out some of the career goals, and I can talk a bit about more some of the careers that our students end up in as well. Let's see. Shannon said, currently a junior in high school, but by the end of my senior year, I'll have 4 classes left to take my associates. Congratulations, that's awesome. They're all transferred, but what opportunities will I miss out from? You know, that's a good question. So Shannon's asking, you know, if I'm transferring in so many credits, what am I missing out on? And I would love if everyone came in as a freshman, because it means that I've got 4 years with you and I can kind of help answer questions as you go. When students transfer in, depending on the amount of advising they've received at their previous institution, you know, you miss out on being an intro to marine biology with your cohort of students and kind of following them all together, but it's definitely not, it's not a make it or break it kind of situation. I would just encourage you to reach out to faculty before you start here at Stockton to see about, you know, research opportunities, and start to build those connections. So you'll have a shorter period of time to build the connections with students, but plenty of students transfer in and do very well in the program. So I wouldn't be concerned. I mean, what you're missing out on is, you know, 4 years with our faculty. You'll just have a few years, but I think you can certainly make the most of it. Considering that you've been working so hard to get that associate's degree, it's definitely a worthwhile endeavor. The Clark, so after earning my degree, what are some possible career opportunities? I'm not quite sure I want my exact career to be at the moment, but I'm leaning towards doing some kind of research. So research is definitely an important facet of the work that we do. Students in general, teaching, like I said, is one main avenue. A lot of students stay either teaching in the high school, middle school realm, or kind of maybe my career path, for instance. So I did bachelor's, master's, and PhD all kind of leading to this idea that I always wanted to be a professor and kind of inspire what I love about the ocean with other students. And the research part I do mainly so that I can involve the students in the work that I'm so passionate about. So teaching in that regard, so if you want to teach at the university level, you would definitely need the upper level, you need a graduate degree for that. Teaching at the high school and lower, a bachelor's degree would be sufficient for that. But I definitely, if you have that interest, I'm going to connect you with education. Research-wise, if your dream is to work on the O-Search vessel and tag great whites and things like that, yes, you can. It's very competitive. And so that's where I think students, you branch out, right? It's doing the things in the field, going out to the lab and doing additional work, pursuing additional internship opportunities. And then it's things like picking up a foreign language, right? So when you're applying for a job, if you want to make yourself more marketable in those careers, it's making yourself stand out. And so a foreign language is good if you're good at coding. So if you have any skill set with computers, doing MATLAB or R, those are statistical programs, doing those types of things, you would do that within research. That would help you get that kind of job. Other people work, for instance, like with the state, so how DOM works now, doing fisheries surveys and things like that. And there's some research involved with that, a lot of technician type of work, as well as aquarist husbandry, animal husbandry. We do have agreements with the Marine Mammal Training Center and the Atlantic City Aquarium. We have students at the Camden Aquarium, and Jenkins Aquarium. I think there's an aquarium nearby. Chances are there's been a Stockton student that's worked there. So that is a common interest as well. Hopefully that answers your question. I'll scroll down and see. There's more. Shannon has another one. My personal goal was mainly ocean exploration. Always fascinating, right? Always learning new things. Extremely passionate about it. First fell in love with the Marianas Trench. Then definitely Tara Luke is one of our faculty members before I even get to your question. She participates every year with the rover expeditions. So if you've ever signed online, NOAA does these where she's live broadcasting. So the camera will be in the trench, or not necessarily Marianas Trench, they don't go that deep with those, but she'll be live identifying them with other scientists around the world. And so that's just a very cool process. So you want to work on ocean restoration, preservation, help a plastic problem. I hear you. Will I still be able to get all this by taking the oceanography concentration? Absolutely. Absolutely. So once again, I get back to what the career goal is. And so in this case, conservation, addressing issues. So a lot of the times, like the gyres that are accumulating in a lot of the ocean plastic are predicted by our oceanography models. So going down that path, I think kind of makes sense because you would be using that skill set in a broader scale within the larger ocean to kind of explore ways that maybe we can predict where some of these concentrations of trash occur, solutions, things like that. There's also ocean engineering as an option. Florida Institute of Technology has a program and more involved with that, as well as Coastal Carolina University. So those might be two other institutions you might look into to consider. But that's certainly something that you could do here. Like I said, Tara Luke does a lot of that really exciting work with the deep sea. And then let's see, how early can you start research at Stockton? Do I need certain coursework before I can get involved? Provided you're 18 years of age, you can start doing research at Stockton as soon as you like. I generally tell students to say, especially first-time freshmen, spend that first year kind of getting used to the routine of your coursework. We want to make sure that you're solid in that before you take on too much. But you can certainly volunteer in any of the research labs, provided the student or the faculty member is looking for space. We've got Dr. Mark Sullivan does a lot of fisheries work, so derelict or what they call ghost crab pots, which are pots that have lost their buoy at the top and continue to fish. So he's at a project with that, as well as some seining. So that's fisheries related. We've got a sedimentologist that's working on how we can restore some marshes and see differences in the flow rates. We've got a biological oceanographer who does a lot of work with oysters, so establishing oyster reefs. And there's lots of spat bags that need counting, so she's always looking for an army of people to help. We've got another oceanographer that creates these cool drifters, which help us predict where larvae is going, which is definitely important for commercially and recreationally important species. And then, like I said, my research, I'm trying to map and monitor the seagrass in the Barnegat Bay area. It's a really important resource, like I said, habitat, nursery ground, foraging for all these important fish, as well as doing restoration projects and the impacts and the interplay between some of the aquaculture industry partners. So you're never too young. As soon as you feel like you can take it on, definitely do it. But don't take it on if you're not quite kind of set up with your routine with how to succeed in the coursework. Let's see. Oh, Nilanjana, you could definitely unmute Nilanjana.
Yeah, so I just want to mention, Shannon, you said you're interested in ocean exploration, and NOAA has the Oceanography Explorer. I'm not sure if you watch their live streams, but that's the one that she mentioned Tara Luke is heavily involved with. But there's a NOAA scholarship that you can apply for your sophomore year. So with your experience or with you getting experience through Stockton classes and research, you'd definitely be really competitive. I'm actually one of their interns right now, and they have this huge list of internships available, and one of them is to go on to the Oceanography Explorer and kind of spend your summer traveling on that ship and getting that research experience, which is really cool.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I'm so glad you were in. I know that Nilanjana, when did you first start doing research within the field station or
Yes. My freshman year, when I took Intro to Marine Bio with Dr. Thompson, I kind of made a point to visit her office hours and ask her what she had available. And one day she was like, oh, we're going out this weekend on the boat to monitor the artificial oyster reefs. Would you like to tag along? And so that was kind of my first introduction to collecting data and like measuring oysters. And then from there on, when she knew I was interested, she would set me up with other people and she'd say, oh, there's an opportunity this weekend at the field station. Or if you ever reach out to Mark Sullivan, even if you have just graduated high school, you're not even enrolled yet, he'll say, oh, we need students to come help sing. And so you can come out to the field station before you even start if you know you want to come to Stockton and make those connections and help out with research, which is really nice.
Awesome. Do you have other tips? What do you wish you would have known when you were first starting?
Yeah, so what you mentioned about transferring credits or remembering all of your bio and your science and math, it's always really helpful when you don't have to worry about like taking another calculus course in college because you've already completed it in high school. And enough students who have transferred in a lot of credits have more availability to take more fields or take more courses because they've already filled other graduation requirements. So if I were to go back, I would maybe try to transfer more credits so that I could take marine conservation ecology and fisheries science and management and those upper level courses that I might not have time to take now because I'm so close to graduating. But it would definitely help me broaden my horizons in the marine science field.
Awesome. And you're still involved with the AFS, the student chapter of the American Fisheries Society?
Yeah, and I had a really cool opportunity to not only be involved in this chapter, but now Mark Sullivan is the president of the Mid-Atlantic chapter. And then he helped appoint me as a student representative for the entire Mid-Atlantic chapter. So it's kind of cool to be able to serve on the executive committee on both levels, which is something I didn't expect, but I'm really enjoying.
Awesome. Yes, I feel like you definitely dipped your toe in a lot of the waters of what I just talked about, different experiences. I'm glad you could chime in. Well, and I noticed, so one of my student research, Danny's here as well. Danny, you want to tell a bit about kind of what research you've been doing or how you got started?
Yeah, so my freshman year, towards the end, Z sent out an email and said, hey, I'm looking for a student who doesn't mind swimming around in the bay and getting wet and dirty and everything that she talked about. And if you're interested, like, send along a statement of interest. And I ended up getting an interview with her, and I ended up doing research with her this past summer. So we looked at the SAV, or the submerged aquatic vegetation in Barnegat Bay, and we're kind of assessing like an overall monitoring the health and how it's sort of changing. And then after getting that baseline data through the summer, this past year I've been doing an independent study project with her, where I've been looking at how climate change and like human impacts such as eutrophication and everything are affecting the seagrass beds and changing their composition, and essentially what that means kind of in the long run for them. And I've even got to working on making a poster, and hopefully can present it in the fall at one of the national conferences that they're hosting there.
Awesome. I know I feel like our project evolved as it went. You know, so you started first just working in the lab, and then when you asked for more, I said, of course there's more. There's data to work up. And so it's definitely been interesting because we had obviously some more research plans for the summer. And now just transferring it to doing what we can online to analyze the data and still create a poster. So eventually what's interesting is the marine science program, we're developing kind of a virtual symposium so that the students that have done all this hard work, even though we can't be in person to show it off, there's going to be an online platform. So that'll be linked through the marine science program website at a future date by the end of the semester. And you can certainly come back and check in to see what these types of projects have resulted in. Let's see. Jackie, I want to work with marine mammals and conservation. Any career ideas in this field, or do you think I'd have better luck elsewhere? Oh, marine mammals, we've got them. We definitely have, we have a marine mammalogy course taught by actually Dr. Sullivan, or Ms. Sullivan has been teaching that course for a few years now and using the seal population that's adjacent to our shoreline. So it's definitely a possibility. And I said, we do have an agreement with the Marine Mammal Stranding Center. So we do have a lot of students that do internships there. Both there's a pool house section. So whenever there's an animal that's rescued, it goes into the pool house. And so there's students that are caregivers there. And then there's also kind of an education component. So we do have lots of students that end up interested in marine mammals and conservation. Once again, it's just like with sharks, it's fairly competitive. So my encouragement would be, if that's your interest, absolutely, I will help you go after that as a career goal, and realize that you'll probably, your greatest success will be if you can leave the state of New Jersey for an internship during your time period. So the education you can get here is definitely transferable to other institutions if you wanted to go on for a master's or PhD, depending on what your level of interest working with marine mammals is. But doing an internship, because we're limited to mainly in the Marine Mammal Stranding Center in New Jersey, going outside of New Jersey and being able to have additional experiences is important. When I do the tropical marine biology course, we do visit, there's different dolphin research facilities and rescue rehab locations down in the Keys, Florida. So if you were looking for additional opportunities to interact and to work either with the conservation conservation angle or with just marine mammals in general. Jesse, thanks. Hopefully that answers your question. But yes, marine mammals can happen here. We do have a faculty member that, and she teaches a general studies course as well. It's called Marine Mammals and Mankind, which is a really fun course too. So it's definitely a possibility. The Dolphin, Whale, and Research Center, I always get the names screwed. There's Dolphin, Whale, and Research Center and Dolphin, Whale. The names are very close, but they're located in Cape May. And you can take they take tourists out, but then they are doing fin photos at the same time. And so there's a big database that students have worked with as well. One of my students actually did an interesting project where she was looking at the barnacles on their fins and using those as an identification tool. And then she actually went and presented that. So that was really a big thing for her at a really large international conference. The other thing you can be involved in is called CMAMS, SEAMAMS. And that is a listserv where there's always new information being put out there on recent trends in marine mammal research, conservation, all that good stuff. Cool. Are there any other questions? Getting a lot of great ones. I think I've answered everybody's. Any other students on the line that want to chime in with something that I've missed or additional opportunities? What made you choose Stockton?
I can talk about the commuter.
Oh yeah.
So I'm actually, I transferred with a bachelor's degree, so I can kind of add there too. And I am a commuter. So I found with commuting, I'm at the field station a lot. In one sense, it's almost easier to get to the field station just because your car is closer, so you don't have to walk to it. And then for transferring a bachelor's, it was very easy. I think I had, besides major courses, I only had 1 or 2 core classes I had to take, and they worked really well with me. And if there were any that they were unsure, I just provided them with a course description and everything was set.
Cool, good point. And Katie actually will be on the second after the tour as well, answering questions, giving further insight into life life of an undergrad. If you're interested, so this has been a little bit more undergraduate oriented because I think that was the bulk of the students that were participating. We do have two different, like I said, the master's programs. We have the professional science master's degree program. That's for those students that already have a bachelor's. Although we do have a program that you can be in the enrolled in environmental studies and then add that on the professional science master's degree program. This is typical, or not typical, this is a good degree option if you think you would be ending your degree after this master's degree and you want to work in the field. So within the state or the federal agencies, the PSM could be useful for you if that's your career goal. So definitely I can connect you with that director, that's Erin Stoller, as a faculty member here at Stockton, who is with that program. Now the Coastal Zone Management Program is brand new. And so we're in the process of getting that started up. And the idea behind that program is that we're addressing some of those coastal concerns, those coastal hazards. So you'll probably see this in Steve's tour. Just outside this building, there's a building adjacent to this, which is Coastal Research Center. And so they do a lot of things like beach profiling, so tracking those changes in beaches and determining, has it erodes away and which beaches are gaining sand, which are losing it. And so the efforts that it takes to maintain our coastlines is part of that coastal zone management program. And so that's something that's new that's coming online. PSM programs or coastal zone management programs are definitely a good option. There's lots of institutions out there that are granting them at this point because they realize that there's a lot of interest in kind of being in the field. And a lot of the programs then are designed so that your coursework is actually at night, so it doesn't conflict potentially with a full-time job that you would have. We've got just a few more minutes left, so if you think of any other questions, please go ahead and type them in, or if any other students want to chime in. Like I said, the tour of the field station will start at 3:15. I'm available for questions. I'll be around during that tour as well and available afterwards if anyone thinks of additional questions that they would like to find out about before we kind of end our session here. But it was a pleasure to meet everybody. I'm hoping everyone's staying safe and sane while you're cooped up inside. Get a little bit of a walk around later on in the nice weather we've got here. But it was a pleasure to meet you all. My email address, if Adrian wants to put that out, elizabeth.lacey@stockton.edu. And then my Instagram is at Stockton_MERL. Let's see, what area of concentration would you recommend if I want to pursue with beach replenishment and studying waves? I'm guessing, Nate, you mean for like oceanography versus marine biology, and definitely would be more oceanography. So question regarding, if that's your interest, your area of pursuit, beach replenishment, we're looking at the movement of sand in that case and where it would be coming from and how to evaluate. So Dr. Suzanne Moskowski kind of handles the soil and sediment within our area. She doesn't actually do research with beach replenishment, but that would be an area of interest. The Coastal Research Center does hire students as well to help with their surveys and studying wave movement. So once again, Dr. Anna Pfeiffer-Herbert is part of our oceanographic team. So that would be an important kind of connection for you to make, but that would be, oceanography would be a good track for you to do. Any other minors that, like I said, you could be interested in, you could certainly do a minor in chemistry, for instance, if that was part of your interest. The minor in sustainability is, the sustainability program's been around for a while, but the minor is new, and that to me is really exciting for a lot of you that want to have that broader impact of how do we build what we know in marine science into this future that we're living in. And so sustainability might be something that you consider as well, kind of to mix and match majors or minors. There are students that do, you can do like a dual degree as well as you could do double major. And a lot of times students ask, what looks better? And I always say, who's looking? And instead your question should be, what's my career goal? And does it make sense? Because we don't want you to be in college longer than you need to be. We know we're not making big bucks as marine biologists. We do it because we love it. And so let's be smart about the decisions for the degree path so that we can get you out into the workforce and not, accumulating school debt, and instead getting to live that dream career that we're helping to design with you. So hopefully that answers your question, Nate, and me rambling on about, other things with the degree. Thank you guys so much for attending. It's great to see so many faces. Sometimes people get nervous and don't want to put their their screens up. So thanks for letting me getting to see your faces during this process. And once again, you've got my contact information. Feel free to reach out. I'm here